Well, hello and welcome to round two of the Zwift Racing League. It is round two of 8. This is the second week in a row that our Loughborough Lightning squad are in action. So last week being the very first racing day for the team after the launch, and yeah, the 6 riders last week absolutely smashed it, winning by, well, some would say a country mile. And personally, I am super excited to see whether they can back that performance up this evening. Not quite the same format. It is a points race this evening, and a little bit more about that in a second. But first of all, probably best to introduce myself. My name is Travis. I am a student at Loughborough. I'm currently on my placement year, and I am your commentator for the evening. Unfortunately, we are missing. We're a commentator down. Unfortunately, Matt isn't with us this evening, as he can't make it this evening, unfortunately. But we are away on the first part. Well, on the warm up, should we say, as it leads into the first of 3 laps around this beach island loop. It's super fast, super flat, and yeah, should hopefully make for some exciting racing. So we're following along with Frankie, our team captain here, and she's well away, right at the front of the pack, leading the way, leading by example. And of course, we have a 6-rider squad here. As already mentioned, Frankie is the team captain, but we also have Alderney Baker racing, Chloe Vickers, Flora Knight, Hannah Lancaster, and that is your team for this evening. They are up against 36 other squads, so a stacked out lineup this evening. Should make for some exciting racing, but also some tough racing as well. Last week, as I alluded to, was it was a team time trial, so that meant that the team was able to represent and show their strength and depth, so they were able to work well together, the 6 riders. They were to keep rolling around, and obviously having that strength and depth really paid dividends, because it meant that they were able to, keep the power high, keep the pace high, and whereas other teams may not have had that same strength throughout their 6-rider roster, and perhaps would have struggled when certain riders come to the front, but not a Loughborough Lightning squad. No, they won by a significant margin last week. But as mentioned, this week could be potentially more tactical, should we say, given that it is a fast course. It's a flat course. As you can see on the screen there, it is 3 laps around Beach Island. And within those 3 laps, there are 3 intermediate sprints, 1 per lap. And these intermediate sprints will become crucial as the race goes on, as it means that there's, well, a shed load of points up for grabs at each intermediate sprint. So you've got the top 10 fastest, top 10 first across the line for each sprint, get 10 points down to 1 point for obviously first place down to 10th. But then on those sprint segments, you also have the top 10 fastest on that sprint. So not the first over the line, but the fastest over those sprints. Now, what this means is that the racing sum adds another layer of tactics, if if you need another layer, let's say. And what that means is that riders can start at the back of the bunch and try and work their way up to the front as they get close to that finish line, in the process trying to be one of the fastest riders over the line. And again, that carries equal weighting to the top 10 riders over the line. So although these are often forgotten about, these fastest over the segment sprints, they really shouldn't be, because they can be the difference between winning and losing. And of course, as you'd expect, there are big points at the finish line, especially for the top 3. So every rider in this field will be gunning for those points. And across the line, points are awarded all the way down to 30th. So it's not just those top 3 riders; it's every position that counts, as I said, all the way down to 30th. So They've made their way along the beachfront, and now they are going through the volcano in Watopia. Fan favourite of the map of Watopia, the virtual world that the first map on Zwift. The platform has now added various different worlds based on reality, but as you can see, this one is not based on reality. So we've also got maps in Paris, London, Richmond, Innsbruck, often based on World Championship courses. But no, this evening, we are in Watopia, the fictional world of Zwift, where Zwift was born. As you can see, the group is pretty bunched up at the moment. Nothing too major happening. Our riders staying nicely tucked in, staying out of trouble, making the most of that draft. Not too many power-ups being dropped yet. The power-ups will be decisive in this event. So the main two that will be used are the aero power-up and the steamroller power-up. Now, many of you will probably be familiar with the aero power-up. So you get an aerodynamic boost, which essentially is perfect for sprints, trying to break away, trying to get that gap, put pain into your rival's legs. And yeah, that's essentially what it does. It means that when you're going in for a sprint, you want to hit this power-up, and it gives you that extra aerodynamic boost over your rival. So it means you can be putting out less watts or less power and still pass somebody who's potentially putting out more power but not using the aero power-up. So it's a handy one to have if you're trying to nab those all-important positions in the sprint. Now, the steamroller power-up, which is a fairly new power-up, I think I'm right in saying. I personally haven't used it whilst racing, but it's an interesting one. So this race, although it is predominantly on tarmac, as you can see now, they're rolling across the tarmac nicely here. The race actually covers quite a lot of dirt over each lap, and it's on this terrain that the steamroller power really comes into its own. It lasts for about 30 seconds, and then that essentially flattens out the dirt like a steamroller and mimics the rolling resistance of tarmac. So whilst you're going over the dirt, it's super advantageous to be using this steamroller power-up. Like here, we are about to come into a dirt section. As you can see, the very first steamroller power-up has been used there by an American rider. Frankie's on a wheel, got it nicely covered, no issues. Well, apologies, just having a few issues with the stream. Just cut out and gone onto my view at the moment, but we'll have it back online imminently. Okay, and we are back. Apologies for that slight technical mishap. Essentially what happened was, for some reason, the app was following my fan view, so then I switched over to Frankie's fan view, and yeah, for some reason it kicked me out. But we are back here, and it looks like we have just gone through a sprint. Just trying to get my bearings again. Lots of confetti against the riders' names, signifying new PRs in the game. So it looks like Frankie is off the front with another Danish rider. Hannah not too far back, 3 seconds adrift, and it looks like the group is coming back together. Although Frankie and the Danish rider who is with her seem to be trying to really stretch that group out, making them work to bring it back together again, which is great to see. Chasing pack of around, I would guess maybe just under 10 riders, trying to bridge over to these two. So again, unfortunately, the technical mishap happened at what looks like it was a fairly crucial moment in the race. So we missed out on one of the sprint segments. But it looks like Frankie will have, certainly got either first or second in that sprint. So that's fantastic to see. There's hopefully a nice big points collection, points grab for the team. And it looks like Hannah was also up there as well. I will try and find out some scores for you. So currently in the team standings after last week, obviously, the Lightning are on full points after winning. So they'll be looking to add to that team total today. And it's settling back down now. Nice big bunch, allowing the riders to all sort of tuck in there. Speed is still high, still travelling at 51 kilometres an hour, 50 kilometres an hour. They'll be covering the ground super fast. And that's a nice working group of about just over a dozen riders. If they work, they'll be able to stay away. It's great to see Chloe in there as well. Chloe, Hannah, Frankie, they're all there. Which is awesome to see. So as you can see, Frankie is on what we call in the game a Tron bike. So you have to you have to unlock a certain challenge and complete said challenge to actually unlock this bike. And quite a lot of other riders, again, have the Tron bike. And watching a couple of previous streams of this same course, same event earlier on today, the commentators on there were saying that for this course you either want the Tron bike or even better is one of the specialised frames with the disc wheel on the back. Now each one kind of has its merits in that the specialised frame with the disc wheel, I mean, that is probably the most aerodynamic setup you can get in the game, and obviously that's going to help on these fast and flat sections. As we go on to another dirt section again, Frankie just dropping a van power up, so basically that means that she will be getting even more draft from the riders behind, from the riders in front, so she'll be able to save maximum energy, which will be crucial for the next upcoming intermediate sprint. Hopefully we'll catch this one. But yes, as I was saying, with the bike selection, essentially there is a choice to make with this, in that you will be you'll benefit most from having the disc wheel on these fast and flat sections. But when it comes to the sprint, when it comes to accelerating, if you imagine in real life, you have a disc wheel on the back, it takes quite a lot of accelerating, quite a lot of power and time to get that up to speed. Whereas, as we're just following a rider with a disc wheel in front there, perfectly timed. Whereas with the Tron bike, it doesn't take that same amount of power, or it doesn't take the same amount of time to accelerate up to top speed. So it is better for sprinting. So you need to kind of make a trade-off and decide whether you want to be able to save more energy on the flats when there isn't a sprint, or whether you want to be able to respond to moves fast, and if you want to be able to really max out that sprint. So I guess it depends on what kind of rider you are, whether you're going to be a domestique for your teammates and perhaps run the front as much as you can and let them sit in your draft, but you're not too worried about the sprinting points, then I'd be tempted to go for the disc wheel setup. But if you are looking to score as many points as possible, if you're a fast and punchy rider, like most of our team are, then I would certainly go for the Tron bike, as Frankie has. Now, both these come with a caveat, of course, and unfortunately, these bikes don't come cheap in the game, or don't come easy in the game. The Tron bike takes quite a lot of experience on the game to actually unlock, and the specialised frame with the disc wheel, you've got to be a certain level again. So Our riders don't all have the Tron bike, but that's not through lack of ability. It's certainly the reason for that is because they've only been on the platform a couple of weeks or a couple of months perhaps, and haven't had the time or the mileage to unlock these essentially premium frames, premium bikes in the game. But that's enough about frames anyway. So I will switch around the rides a little bit, see how they're getting on. So Chloe is sat nice in the draft, as I just said. She has got the Tron bike, which is fantastic to see. Super high heart rate. I'd be surprised if that was accurate. maybe it is. But yeah, working super hard. Just under 200 watts. Spinning nicely. 80, 82, 83 rotations per minute. So that little blue box in the top left-hand corner shows the rider's stats. So you've got their power output, their cadence, so how many times a minute they are spinning the pedals around, and their heart rate. And that will all be fed from various different sensors which are connected into the Zwift game. And yeah, with varying reliability, should we say. Although I must stress that in this Zwift Racing League, because there is promotions up for grabs and all that kind of thing, the power must be accurate, and riders can be subject to random testing at any time. So super important to have an accurate power meter. As we switch back to Frankie now. Again, it would appear, oh, Hannah is in this group as well. I think it is just these three riders in the front group, unless I'm mistaken. If anyone can spot one of the other riders in, please let me know in the comments section. And please feel free to get involved and ask any questions or comments that you may have in that comments box on the right hand side of the stream. So as we've risen out of the tunnel and back onto dry land, heading towards the waterfront again, and well, that's almost one lap complete. As far as I can see, we are very well placed to score highly on this lap again, and score highly at the end of the race if these three riders manage to stay in the group. The only other teams that I can see who have got three riders in this front group are Race 3R, as well as the Belgian team BZR as well. Coalition Synergy, I've certainly got two riders there, potentially another one. And as the BZR riders are trying to light this up now, throwing down 5 watts per kilo, trying to string out this group. Looks as though this group is a long way in front though. Don't think there's any real risk of them being caught by a group further back. So it looks like I've just got some data from Flora, and it looks like she is in a small group, just under 20 seconds drift from that front pack. So she needs to get inside the top 30 to be able to score points at the finish line. However, if you get dropped in a race such as this, in a points race, this is where the fastest on sprint segments can become really, really crucial. Because you can be dropped and you can just pedal super easy, just spinning around the entire lap until you get to the segment which is where points are up for grabs. when you get to these segments where the points are up for grabs, you can go absolutely hell for leather and then ease off again once you cross that line. So essentially you could ride dropped and just target these segments and try and sweep up the points, where essentially you're invisible to your opponents, And actually, again, races have been won and lost on this tactic. So for sure, it would be foolish to forget about these points. Again, Frankie pushing up to the front there. It's not a crazy pace at the front, but again, it's not like red hot at the front now. It's just under 4 watts per kilo. As you can see, Frankie's sitting there. Nice, yeah, I'd say fairly comfortable, sitting at about 160 beats per minute. That'll be around her threshold. Spinning out nicely, around 90 RPM, exactly where you want to be. Just keep those legs nice and fresh, but also putting out ample power. Sitting jumping between sort of just over 200 watts and about 250 watts. Just trying to stay in an advantageous position in what is still a fairly large group. Given that there are 58 starters, don't have exact figures on how large this group is, but I would hazard a guess at just under about 20. So just under half the field still in this front pack, including 3 of our Loughborough Lightning riders, which is fantastic to see. Again, as you can see, there's lots of nationalities represented. Plenty of British flags there. Isle of Man, Belgium, Switzerland. That's one of the things about the Swift Racing League, is it is open to everybody, and everybody can get involved. We've also got teams from the Loughborough Cycling AU club involved in racing this evening, which is really awesome to see. And that it's not just Loughborough Lightning at the university. There is a fantastic community and a fantastic network of cycling here at Loughborough. And I don't actually know how many teams we've got racing, but I know it's a good few. And it's a fantastic platform to be racing on. So again, switching back to Chloe. Moving up nicely on the left-hand side there, as we go down this descent of the volcano. So they've just passed the 10-mile mark, if you like, so 16.3 kilometres. 60.1 kilometres translates into roughly 10 miles. And they've covered that in just over 21 minutes. So it's a pretty rapid pace. Of course, you do not want to be spat out the back here, because imagine trying to hold consistently 50 kilometres an hour on your own. It's so much harder than sitting in the group like the girls are doing here, and conserving what is extremely valuable energy for the super hard segments, super hard sprints that will be coming up imminently. Now, if you are on the Zwift platform, if you've got the Zwift companion app downloaded, then feel free to, in fact, I would encourage you to go onto your companion app, search for the riders, and give them a big thumbs up, give them a bit of encouragement, give them some extra watts by clicking that thumbs up button in the companion app. What you've got to do is search for the riders, is just search for capital L, so LL-TRG, which of course stands for Loughborough Lightning, the Recruitment Group. Now, as we're coming along this little bridge section, or land bridge section, so it just connects the volcano part of the map to the rest of the map. Riders jostling for position, as we eke ever closer to the second intermediate sprint. Now, as they go past or go under this bridge here, notice how the road is about to kick up as they go past the little village on the left-hand side. Now, this could be a crucial section, and yeah, as you can already see, there are some steamroller power-ups being dropped. Riders surging to the front. Now, these steamroller power-ups last around 30 seconds, I believe, so they are arguably more useful than an aero power-up, which only lasts a significantly shorter time than 30 seconds. As you can see, the race is splitting up. Frankie pushing 8 watts per kilo to bridge up to these 3 riders along. Wow, Hannah's up there as well, which is awesome to see. So we've got two riders really pressing on there. Fortunately, Chloe seems to have been caught out the wrong side of the split, but trying to bring it back. 5.2 watts per kilo from Chloe. Nicely sitting there in 4th on the wheel of one of the Belgian riders. Can they bridge up to Frankie and the other rider? Just a second adrift, but as any of you who've raced with Zwift in the past will know, that second can feel tough. But no, it looks like they've managed to do it, and there we go. They are under the sprint banner, so now they are on the time segment. So this is where the real battle begins. Remember, 10 points for first, 1 point for 10th. These 4 riders, looks like they are going to get the win amongst them, are they? A rider with an aero power-up coming up fast behind. 9.4 watts per kilo there from Frankie. And now, calm after the storm, rolling around nice and easy, just under 2 watts. Watts per kilo, sorry, not watts. Yeah, brilliant. Again, difficult to be able to tell from watching the stream here, but I would say that all 3 of our riders managed to score at least some points in that, which again will put us in very good standing for the overall at the end of the race. It certainly looked like Hannah and Frankie were both up there in the top 5. Oh, it looks like Hannah may just be dropping off the pace slightly. Again, she's unfortunately lost contact with the back of that group, and as you can see from here, once the gap opens up, it's very, very tough to bring it back down. So I would say, personally, her best bet is to drop back to that group behind and try and get them to work together to catch the group in front. I believe that group behind contains Frankie as well. Chloe, as you can see, is up there 8 seconds ahead, nicely tucked into that front group. We will jump to her in a second, just once we can see whether Frankie is which group Frankie is in. Oh no, she is in that front group. She's managed to make that front selection. So unfortunately, it is just Hannah that's dropped back into that second group. So yeah, now we rejoin that front pack where we've got both Frankie and Chloe still there. So as you can see, going into that sprint, there was a very select group of 4 riders at the front pressing it on, who've been pressing on ever since that dirt section really started. So actually, although that time segment, that sprint section, is the crucial part, the effort starts far, far before that. Almost as soon as they go underneath that bridge onto the dirt section, you've got to be on the watch, you've got to be keeping an eye out, making sure you don't leave those gaps, because if you leave those gaps, then it means that an extra effort, you have to dig in, and ultimately that could be your legs going pop at the end of the day. And that could be not necessarily your race over, because there are ways to bring it back. And as I mentioned earlier, you can still contribute to the points, A, by finishing in the top 30 at the end of the race, but also you could target that last intermediate sprint just by rolling around nice and easy and really going for it on the last lap. But I don't think that would be that's part of our team's tactics today. Might be some teams, but I don't believe it is part of ours. Again, another dirt section here. Be interesting to see. Yeah, again, 3 more riders opting for their steamroller power up along this section here, including Frankie. So that better rolling resistance really paying dividends along these rougher sections. Just mimics, as I said earlier, it mimics the rolling resistance of being on tarmac. So as you can imagine, if you're trying to ride on dirt versus if you're trying to ride on tarmac, I know which one I'd rather be riding on. Now, coming into this race, on Zwift Power we can see there are Zwift Power gives us a breakdown of the riders' max 15 watt power in terms of watts per kilos and raw power, and also gives us their 20-minute power as well. And what we can do from these stats is sort of figure out who the main contenders are potentially for the sprints. Now on this course again, because it is so flat, you would argue that the 20-minute power isn't necessarily all that important. Obviously, it's still important because it shows a level of fitness, but actually the 15-second power is going to be much more applicable in this race. Now, in terms of raw power, the best riders in the field So the best riders in this field are upright. Well, I can't actually see any of them in this front group here, not at the moment. So according to the stats, the best 15 seconds power of any rider in this women's field is a Belgian rider riding for the BZR e-cycling team, and her 15 seconds max power on Zwift Power is 682 watts, so 11.2 watts per kilo. Now there are two of the BZR e-cycling team riders in this front group. I'm just trying to work out whether she is one of them. But again, in terms of watts per kilo numbers, actually Frankie is not that far off with her max 50-second watts per kilo on the Zwift platform. Remember, the Z Power data is only from Zwift races, so her top 50 seconds watts per kilo is 8.1 watts. So she ought to stand a very decent chance of being able to stay with the best sprinters in this front pack, particularly as it has been a hard and an attritional race. That will suit the riders whose 20-minute powers are higher. And again, Flora's watts per kilo is still extremely significant, with 7.7 watts per kilo and 490 watts for the 15 seconds max, putting her right up there amongst the best in this women's field. So hopefully she will be able to kick from that second group behind. Remember, it is Chloe and Frankie in this front group, and there we see Frankie has really put down the hammer going up this climb to try and split the group. That to me suggests that she does not want this to come down to a large bunch sprint. Fantastic raw power coming down there from Frankie. Still at 6 watts per kilo. Now it's down to the rest of the riders to chase and really, see who can match her. Is anyone going to try and come with her? Doesn't look like it at the moment. Chloe's still sitting in that pack. Although certainly no Sunday ride. Still pushing 3.8 watts per kilo, Chloe is. Frankie really digging in now to go, flashing between 5.5 and 6 watts per kilo. She's got a 4-5 second gap over the rest of the field. Again, in this position, it's so hard to stay out front. As you saw there, Frankie attacked on the climb when it's it's not easy to get a gap, but it's easier to get a gap. You can quickly put time into the rest of the field and get that gap because the aerodynamic advantage isn't as significant. But staying on this flatter section, and as we now tip downhill slightly, the group behind will be moving quicker with less energy. So Frankie is doing incredibly well to stay away at this stage, and she's pushing out the gap to 6-7 seconds now. But the question is whether she can hold it. Again, it doesn't look like there's much cooperation in the group behind. They're not really working together. They're just rolling around. Chloe being the model teammate at the back of the group, not putting in any work at all, just sitting in that draft, letting the others do the chasing. So remember, we are now 2 laps down, or coming up for 2 laps down. The next time that we come round onto this section of the course, we've just gone under the finish banner actually. The next time we come round to this section on the course, it will be race over, and we will, hopefully know who our winners are. Yep, that group is just going underneath the finish, just going underneath the finishing banner now. So Frankie has got a sizable gap over the chasers. 7 seconds. Let's see if she can push it out on this climb at all. 2%, 3%. Holding steady at between 5.5 and 6 watts per kilo. The effort's going up, as you can see, 191 beats per minute. 72 RPM, really grinding up this climb. Out to 9 seconds now. Again, keep your kudos coming in. Nice to see another thumbs up drop into Frankie's back pocket there. Remember, you can give her your support by logging into the Zwift Companion app and clicking that thumbs up button. But all of our riders would appreciate a bit of encouragement. So yeah, just search for the riders' names on the Zwift Companion app, or search for LL-TRG in the Companion app, and you'll find them to be able to give them that thumbs up and that encouragement. Out to 11 seconds now as Frankie enters the tunnel and across the volcano. It almost looks like, Frankie's out of sight from the chasing pack. You know what they say, out of sight, out of mind. Half the battle is getting that gap. And once you've got that gap, quickly demoralises the group behind you. So it'd be super interesting to see whether Frankie can stay away. As I said, it doesn't look like the group was working all that well behind. So essentially, it means that they're not making the most of their group advantages that they could be. And Frankie is benefiting from this, dropping slightly to 5 watts per kilo, just dipping into the 4s there. Frankie can keep it up. Still beating away 188, 187 beats per minute. Great to see more encouragement coming through for Frankie. She'll be really appreciating that. Digging deep now. As those of you who follow the Loughborough Cycling socials or the Loughborough Sport socials, you'll be well aware of Frankie's time trialling credentials. So this is the kind of effort that she'll be used to, albeit not after some max sprints. But yeah, Frankie is an extremely accomplished time trialist, so we'll know exactly what she can hold for how long, or how high her heart rate can go for how long. So we'll be doing a measured effort now. She'll be settling into that mindset, and yeah, just really digging in deep to try and score maximum points for the team. Gap out to 15 seconds now. 16 seconds for the back of the group. Again, she's got a nice sizable gap. Riders will be able to see that she's 15 seconds ahead, but obviously won't be able to see her on their screens. So yeah, that's got to be a massive plus for Frankie. As she descends down the other side of the volcano now onto this switchback. Be interesting to see what speed she manages to hit on this descent. So last lap, the group was hitting speeds of up to 50 kilometers an hour. Yep, and there we go, Frankie ticking over, 51, 52, 53 k an hour. So by my reckoning, she is not going any slower than that group was going last time. And that group has just gone round the first hairpin bend of that descent. Let's jump back to Chloe in the group to see how the group is working. So yeah, as you can see, not a huge amount of cooperation. Surprised, as there are a couple of teams who've got multiple riders in this back group, or in this chasing pack. Particularly Loughborough Cycling have got three riders in this chase pack, so I'm surprised they haven't organised a chase. Perhaps their team tactic is to let Frankie do the work out there and try and bring her back in the latter stages. A risky tactic. But yeah, this is allowing Chloe to sit in nicely. So if it does come down to a sprint for the win, she'll have nice and fresh legs. Having a teammate out the front's always advantageous for the rest of the team behind, because it means you can sit back and sort of say, well, why would I want to chase? My teammate's out front, doesn't it? Under strict team orders not to. So yeah, from that aerial shot, that helicopter shot, if you like, virtual helicopter, we can't see Frankie at all. If you look at the mini-map on the right hand, or the top of your screen on the right hand side, those of you with good eyesight might be able to spot a little red dot that is Frankie just coming towards the start of the dirt section, as the chasing pack is maybe 3/4 of the way along this this stretch of road that extends, that connects the volcano to the rest of the map. And we will try to rejoin Frankie. There we go, as she has joined the dirt section, which is just rolled onto the dirt section. Again, still pushing just under 5 watts per kilo. Jumping up into those 190 beats per minute as she lays down her steamroller power up. Remember, this is the point where the race split last lap, so 4 riders went clear. It's just Frankie clear now. She's got 17, 18 seconds over the chasing pack. A very, very respectable margin. And she's got to be good for 10 points on the intermediate sprint here. And it's beginning to shape up like a... don't want to give her the commentator's curse, but it's beginning to look like Frankie might just be able to hold it out to the finish line here. Although, as you can see, that group dynamic, even if they're not working together particularly well, has really benefited the riders behind as they start to close that up ever so slightly. The timing's jumping around a little bit, so it's fairly confusing. I believe Frankie might be coming up to some lapped riders here. But that chasing pack are all using their steamroller power-ups, as I can see on my other screen here. Frankie just rolls over the start of the sprint segment, as the other riders are only 6 seconds adrift now. Looks like 5 riders have broken clear of the rest of the group, hunting Frankie down. Again, that would have taken a monumental effort for those riders to have broken clear, as we saw last time, as we saw on the last lap. Frankie comes around the bend, last few meters, and she's got 10 points in the bag for the team. Excellent job. Now let's try. Not sure how many riders have come across the line there, but Chloe's still in a very good position, just getting rolled across the line by one of the Belgian BZR riders. To me, I would, that's another top 5 finish for Chloe. So 5 more points at least in the bag for the team. And the riders, as you can see, they are strewn all over the road now. So what this chasing pack needs to do to get back to Frankie is really get their act together, start working well as a group, start rotating, start pushing hard in the front, recovering on the back, and trying to get back in contact with Frankie. But of course, we do not want that to happen, no. Frankie's still pushing a consistent number of watts out the front, and she's 19 seconds further up the road than Chloe is here. Chloe is in a small chasing group, I think you can call it now. They have come back together, although still not working. So yeah, she's very, very well placed to race for the sprint at the finish. Let's hope it's for second and that Frankie gets that win and the full 40 points that comes with it. But as those of you who use Swift or have watched Swift racing before will know, nothing is guaranteed. Just jumping back to Frankie now, I realise my error. She is now in a front group of, what is that? 6 riders now. So she's been caught by the group that split away. So Chloe is actually in a second chasing pack. So hopefully Frankie hasn't burned too many matches in pushing away on the front of the race there. So we have still got 2 riders in the top 10, still well placed to bag some very, very decent points. Frankie in a front group of 6 riders. In the front group of 6 riders. Chloe slightly further back, 15 seconds adrift in a further group of 5 riders. Be interesting to see whether these 2 groups come together in the closing stages. My guess would be that they won't. Again, another rider at the front, one of the Race 3R riders, really laying down the watts to try and break this group apart unsuccessfully as Frankie goes past them again. Again, this front group really, really is, they're putting each other through the paces and trying to break away, trying to break even just one rider means that they'll guarantee themselves more points for the team. But going into this finale, Loughborough Lightning are extremely well placed, having scored very highly on at least the first across the line sprints. We don't know how they've done so far on the fastest on the sprint segments. Unfortunately, we don't have that data in front of us. But we'll certainly feed that out to you after the race as soon as we can. Across the bridge onto the final dirt segment. If any riders have a steamroller power up, they will be using it now. They have one left. So every time that the group or a rider rolls underneath one of those gantries, so at the finishing line, but also at the finish of the intermediate sprint, they get a power up, and that's where you see the steamrollers, the aeros, the van power ups all being dropped. That is where they get them from. So I have a slight rise here. Remember, this is where This is where the race started to split apart slightly last time. There's a jump into the tunnel. Be interested to see on the climb out of the tunnel whether Frankie tries to go again and attack. As you can just see, she's recovering nicely down there, dropping underneath 100 watts, sitting on the back of that group, exactly the right thing to do. Saving as much energy as she can after that big effort off the front for a good couple of minutes earlier. Chloe's group is a further 20 seconds back down the road. One thing's for sure, this circuit and these riders have really split the race apart, and well, it's been quite an exciting race. Extremely exciting, in fact. Lit up by a number of riders, but none more so than Frankie. So interestingly enough, each rider in this front group appears to be on their own. So that means that no team tactics can be employed here. Each rider is racing on their own. They've got no teammates to do a lead-out sprint for them. They've got to rely on their own power, their own legs to be able to seal victory. Now, statistically, the Belgian rider from the BZR team, apologies for any Flemish speakers out there, but Bonnie Dillenote, I believe her name is, she is statistically the strongest sprinter in this field. So as I mentioned, raw power, 15-second max power of 682 watts versus Frankie's just over 400. 405 is Frankie's in game. But as I've said, it's been an attritional race, so it will be interesting to see what Frankie's got left in store. Because as we said, we know Frankie's levels of fitness and being able to string out a long effort for significant periods of time. Again, this pace is not easy either. These riders do not want the rest of the field coming back into it. So the pace is nice and high, but Frankie just sitting on the back there, letting the other riders do the work, either intentionally or unintentionally, but she's doing the right thing. Again, she's attacking on this climb to really try and get that gap. The other rider's now responding this time around, sensing the danger after she attacked on that on that second lap. Has she got that important gap? She's got just, a couple of bike lengths back to the South African Rocker Corba cycling rider. And back again, the Belgian rider, who is statistically the strongest in the field, is back there, sat nicely within that pack. Again, best case scenario here for Frankie is that the rest of the riders look at each other like they are, and will hopefully continue to do so. Worst case scenario is that they begin to chase and ultimately eat up that gap. But Frankie's now got a 2-second gap over the rest of the chasing pack, which is fantastic to see. She rounds a sharp right-hand 90-degree bend. Downhill, sweeping left-hander as we come onto the final stretch. 195 beats per minute now. Watch those numbers light up orange as she goes for the sprint. 4 seconds gap back to the rest of the riders. 9.8 watts per kilo being put down by the Argentinian rider. That gap still isn't coming down. The banner's within sight. 11.3 watts per kilo in the chase. Still 4 seconds. It looks like Frankie's got it. Fantastic riding, awesome work, 40 points in the bag. And there you have it. A win for Frankie Hall of Loughborough Lightning, the Recruitment Group. Now we'll try and get back to Chloe. Again, looks like unfortunately Chloe's been dropped from the front pack, but has got a very comfortable lead over 13th place, so coming in an extremely respectable 12th, and will be scoring big for the team again. Remember, positions all the way down to 30th score points for the team. So we have got a first place, 12th place. Little sprint for the line there from Chloe. Great to see her digging in right to the end as she crosses the line. Now let's try and join Hannah. Hannah is now in a group of 4. Again, nice comfortable lead over the group behind as they round this penultimate bend, this sweeping left-hander. Rounding the corner into the final stretch. Let's see what Hannah has got. Not opening up the sprints yet. Left a little bit of rush room over that Coalition Synergy rider. 4.8 watts per kilo. Very cagey. The Coalition Synergy rider going off the front there. Has Hannah got a power up? She needs to go for it if she wants these points. Unfortunately not, and Hannah settles for 22nd, so still scoring a very respectable number of points for the team coming across line in the top 30. So that is the top 30 riders all across the line, all the point scoring riders crossing the finish line. And yeah, I mean, I don't think we could have asked for any more from our riders there today. First, 12th and 22nd, plus a shed load of points from each of the intermediate sprints. And who knows, hopefully a fair number of points from the fastest on the sprint segments as well. So, thank you for joining me this evening. I hope you have enjoyed this commentary, the coverage. Unfortunately, we don't have an interview this evening. We'll have that back online next week when Matt joins me as well. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed tuning in, and hope to see you again next week.